Look, it's a flood.
It's a flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
Fucking like shit with sparks going across the pavement.
Only the real thing.
Like, I wonder how much money this shit cost. Wasn't it Christopher Nolan that? No, who directed Titanic again?
James Cameron.
That was James Cameron. Fucking had a hole
bravest pioneer.
dug in the desert and made them build a fucking. You know that, right? Like he built the fucking Titanic, like replica, like.
Why did they build a hole in the desert? There's like a 10-mile by 10-mile water tank in like California.
I'm pretty sure that's because of fucking James Cameron, yo.
They use it for Master and Commander.
I was gonna say, didn't they actually for that reason?
I was gonna say, I think that's the one that he had
pool.
built. Yeah, he had them build a fucking giant pool so they could film Titanic in it.
To be a sea.
Wow.
Because James Cameron is a fucking madman. And then
And you know what's crazy?
Like point by point
I heard like
replicas.
he's so good at managing the budget. Like he could take something that was like, look, no, this people would normally do this like piece of stage design for like $100. He's like, I got some like epoxy, some shit from Michaels, and $12.
You know where he probably learned to do that was the Titanic, because
Roger
the whole
Corman.
thing behind it was that movie went so over budget that everybody thought it was going to be a fucking disaster piece.
Roger Corman. He learned it from Roger Corman making shitty movies.
Show that up.
I think it rivals Gone with the Wind for like box office
All
gross.
time.
Yeah.
And then his Pocahontas
You
in
gotta
Space
sit right
movie
there.
actually.
Oh, Avatar.
Yep.
What is it? It's like Gone with the Wind, Avatar, Titanic, and then
Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame. Somebody made the take that WandaVision finally gave Martin Scorsese the Marvel movie he's been looking for.
Yeah, I mean he does habitually shit on Marvel movies.
Yeah, because he says they're theme park rides. They're not movie experiences, right? And everybody
I
was
agree,
like,
yeah.
well, you can't say that about WandaVision, though.
Not at all.
But that, I feel like series is different because, like, you know, the Netflix Marvel series are kind of dark and gritty. And
Okay.
Yeah, but they also got Axe.
See, but
I heard they are gonna keep.
which
John.
I have hot takes about that.
John Bernthal. That's his name.
Yeah, I have hot takes about it. It's not. They're not even really hot takes, right? Because everybody wants fucking Luke Cage back, and everybody wants Jessica Jones back, and I'm like, so the two that are actually the most popular are the one featuring the black guy and the woman, and those are the ones that Marvel and Netflix chose to. Yeah, we're not gonna bring those back, but we will keep the one about the two angry white guys.
To be fair, like, I guess
Fuck
Jessica
Iron
Jones
Fist.
kind of runs into the same issue, but like Luke Cage, like stuff like that's so hard to do on move or on series budget and not movie budget, because like he's like a mini Hulk, right? And so you're just like running through walls and shit, and like that's hard to do on like an episodic budget.
But I always argued my beef with the Marvel Cinematic Universe was that it was the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I thought those... And WandaVision has proven Marvel stories work better episodically than they do when you try to cram them into a 1.5 hour long movie. Endgame would have been so much more impactful if it had been a series.
Yeah, I feel like that's anything though. Generally, you still have to have movies, so you just like it kind of gets nuts.
Fair.
But like the step they need to take is they need to stop being scared to put out like 2.5 hour movies.
I feel like I'm hearing more and more people are getting exhausted by these long run times, right? Especially I think it may work for something like an Endgame or a Christopher Nolan flick, but a lot of people are getting tired of, like, you know, comedies and rom-coms pushing like the 2 hour mark.
But see, because they're doing it wrong. Like they're just doing like the rom-coms are the ones that need to just be the fucking hour and a half. Like what extra 30 minutes of backstory are you getting like in your rom-com? that like it doesn't build out a full-fledged universe. They're
Right.
doing the time
Right.
in the movies just
Right. I think animes take a great approach to this whole idea, right? Because, animes will run a series out and then they'll do like a movie OVA, like just what just happened with Demon Slayer. Just had one, and then they did one with
My
Hunter
Hero.
x Hunter. Yeah, and My Hero Academia just had one.
So I guess anime does it in sort of the reverse way then. So like we have the Marvel Cinematic Universe first, and that's set, and then they come out with like the series of like WandaVision. Anime is the opposite way around.
Yeah.
You get your movie
After you have the
But
series
I mean, like,
flush out.
anything that's running too long, you're like, okay, wrap it up. Rise up!
And crash
on
through. This is Doc,
And Ziggy.
and this is The Flood.
And we have Cool Zack back.
Hey,
Cool Zack's back.
Cool Zack's back. And today we are, as you see, we already getting into...
That was fucking
shit.
good and you know it.
Yeah, I forgot we were lagging on that for a while.
Yeah, we were just kind of rolling with it.
Oprah destroyed the British monarchy.
Gene Simmons is out of touch.
Maybe we'll be able to take our masks off for 4th of July.
Netflix is cracking down on password sharing, guys.
And we have some turtle takes on WandaVision.
Yeah, and all kinds of other hot news drops to get into. But first, I want to do a check-in. How y'all week been?
Been alright. I can't really complain. I've just been writing a lot. I've been writing a paper about Ninja Warrior this past day.
Ninja Warrior.
Yeah,
Really?
so I've written my 3 classes. I've written about Straight Outta Compton, Chicken Nuggets, and Ninja Warrior. Oh, man.
Link them all together in some way.
And then get to Kevin Bacon. You ever do that with Wikipedia? Like, just take 2 things and see how many clicks it takes to get there?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the classic one is see how many takes it gets to Hitler.
Let's see my last week.
One of my favorite Twitter games is to just jump onto a contentious thread and try to see how long it takes to get to Goblin's Law.
It's
So
The
you-
fastest I've seen is 4.
I feel
4
like
fucking tweets before it got to
it's
Hitler.
different when you're,
So,
when
so
you're
you-
like clicking out of your way to get to something, but
I was gonna say, so you like to go into people's discussions and wait for people to bring up Hitler?
Yes!
yes,
Absolutely!
Wait,
Finally,
Yes.
my time has come.
It's like the guy in Not Another Teen Movie. Wait, really?
you mean Captain America?
Good call. I will never let people forget that. Captain America was in Not Another Teen Movie.
Yo, so Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out, was it this week or is it next week?
I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna come out this week or next week. Probably next week would be my bet, so everybody has like the lag off of WandaVision.
Yeah, people are already talking about like how WandaVision set the bar so high for these Marvel
It's gonna be
shows.
Lethal Weapon.
You think?
It totally
you think
could
they're
be.
gonna go buddy cop with it?
Yes, absolutely, they're gonna go buddy cop.
So the first episode is set to air March 19th. So not this week, but like the end of this week. So by the time we record again, a new episode, or the first episode, I was hoping they would have like, yeah, I guess Top Gun is still kind of like buddy cop.
Very.
Very, yeah. The one black guy named Sundown. Real bad, everybody.
Look. That's why, like we talked about last episode, sometimes content warnings are, a little necessary.
Yeah.
Just so you don't accidentally get yourself canceled for something.
Yep.
This whole Pepe Le Pew thing is still going, and
I don't get it. Like,
it's okay.
it's all because he's out of Space Jam 2, right?
Yes. All right. So there was a scene.
And they were even trying to make a point with having him in
Yes,
there.
there was a scene, and that's what the actress who was in the scene that got cut said. Right, there was a scene where Pepe Le Pew was trying to hit on this actress, and I'm forgetting her name at the moment. Please forgive me. But she, slaps him off the chair, and he does like the whole cartoon spin around thing, right?
Yeah.
And she wanted it included because
Then LeBron comes over and he's like, "Yo, dog, you can't do that."
you gotta chill. Yeah, and for reasons they wanted the scene included to kind of, I guess, speak on the characterization of Pepe Le Pew. But I just, I think this whole controversy is, as I've stated before, made up. Nobody really cared about Pepe Le Pew. Nobody was checking for, as we've said, there's still fucking kids in cages, right?
Yeah. So that's like the big thing, right? That's shit that still hasn't been done that we've all been
This is all brand marketing. As I've said before, it's the cancelization marketing.
So as a kid, I don't know, I like to think kids ideally are more innocent in general, right? Like, they don't, like, as a kid, like, unless if you're, like, taught, you're not, like, just born fucking racist.
No.
And you're not born, like, thinking, like, oh, well, we're just
It's
gonna harass the shit out of this
therapy,
girl. Like, you know, like, as a kid, like, Pepe was always, like, he fucking smells because he's a skunk. Get away from me. Like, that was always...
Yeah.
Yo, and I saw this IG comedian talking about that.
He was like Johnny Bravo in that sense.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
All right.
I already went into this on Twitter, but look, I saw this IG comedian talking about it, right? And he was like, anybody who would look at the Pepe Le Pew cartoon and think that is positively promoting that kind of behavior is clearly misreading the character, right? Like, he said, what did he say? He was like, one, Pepe stinks, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's fairly obvious that he stinks. Two, he's overly aggressive, and no, the cat does not like it. So it's like, as a child, you're looking at it, and you should be picking up that if you stink and you're overly aggressive, it's not gonna work for you, right?
You can see your stink.
Like, right? Like, that's what I think most of us picked up watching that kind of shit. The same way I went into this with Johnny Bravo, because people were like, all the dumbasses who believe that this is really happening started talking about, oh, they're gonna come for Johnny Bravo next, and I'm like, once again, y'all are missing the entire fucking point of Johnny Bravo, right? Like,
one time where, like, Johnny Bravo just didn't absolutely get manhandled afterwards.
Thank you. And all the women in the show had much more agency and much more, like,
class. They were classy
than Johnny like had in his, like, entire, like, thumb. Right. Or in his entire bicep.
Lil Susie was hilarious. I just want to throw that out there.
All the women were smarter than Johnny. Like, way more capable than even the smart man in the show, right?
Carl,
like,
yeah.
Carl was still like a fucking weed and like a worthless kind of, but even he was able to get
Johnny
over
goes to Pop at the diner for advice.
Yo, and
satire as far as 21.
Seriously, yeah, people seriously like miss the entire. Johnny Bravo is a farce of like the hunk stereotype.
Yes.
Of even like the incel stereotype, because Carl could be looked at as fucking incel.
Yeah.
Like, Pops is the stereotypical like honeymooners kind of like man.
Yeah,
like,
and Susie's supposed to be the stereotypical Girl Scout.
Yeah.
2021, we can't have Blazing Saddles.
Absolutely, but that movie would never get made now.
I don't but that's where I feel different, right? Because I don't think
didn't we talk about Mel Brooks specifically?
Yeah. I think we did in the comedy episode. But I don't think that Gen Z is really complaining about these things. I think it is the small offset of them that, like...
It's always the extremism.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the extremist version of them, like how millennials were, like, blamed for the avocado toast craze and stuff, when it was only a small percentage of us that was actually doing that kind of dumb shit.
Well, I feel like as a millennial, we get a lot of the same thing. As a millennial, like, what the fuck are you talking about, millennial? Like, what?
Yeah, no, we're not fucking, millennials are canceling the diamond industry, and it's like, oh, well, maybe it's because we have to work 80 hours a week just to afford our one bedroom
down.
Right, yeah. Like, stop. No, because we're doing more bespoke shopping and stuff like that. We're buying unique crafts and individual pieces off Etsy and shit instead of, going to department stores for our shit. Like,
napkins are going out of business because you use paper towels.
He went to Jared's.
We brought the small business boom back,
right?
Hell yeah,
like, absolutely.
We brought the...
Like, almost exclusively.
But we don't get credit for that shit. In this article I was going to bring up later about how Gen Z is shaping the new internet gives them credit for making the gig economy, like, a stable market. And I'm like, no... Fucking millennials did that because there were no job opportunities when we got out of college because nobody could retire thanks to the 2008 financial crisis. So we had to invent whole new fucking fields of industry in order to utilize the schooling and the training that we had. Like,
Yeah, the mandatory schooling, because like you can't get anything that's close to a career without
a fucking BA, yo. It's ridiculous, or some kind of certification. So and
then you just end up more with like hive mind thinking and progression.
A $15 an hour wage.
Once again, the media is using, like I said, they're using this PC culture, cancel culture branding as a wave to even push the new Space Jam movie. It's fucking controversy for marketing. Like, we've seen Kanye do, but Kanye's a fucking asshole, right?
It's so funny to me. People are getting so upset. Little Buddy's not sexy anymore.
Yo, that's what I'm saying. Like, did they... And it's wild to me because they really felt like they needed to drum up controversy in order to make people care about Space Jam 2. That's what I want people to realize. Nobody cares about nobody really thought Pepe Le Pew was a bad, like, characteristic to have in a cartoon
So
character.
you think this is some deep state marketing shit?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Like the clowns for it?
Like the fucking Eminem cancelization thing. What did M do right after that? He dropped a new fucking single. How long do you think it's gonna be before M drops another surprise album?
Oh, cancel Eminem. It's gonna ruin his career.
Yeah, come on, man. Seriously?
He's not already set.
He probably just gotta pay his taxes for the year, so he getting ready to drop another album to get some more streams out. Like, come on, man. Like, y'all, it's...
I know you got something written somewhere.
He has been really pumping out albums the past couple of years.
Exactly. And it's probably because he got taxes to pay. Yo.
What do you mean? 3 albums in the past 3 years?
Yeah. And they've all been, I mean, they've been
Bazooka.
decent. It's Eminem, right?
To Murder by.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like M is just like I said, sharpening his sword and paying his taxes at this point.
So have you heard Ice Cube's newish album as well?
No, I didn't. I missed that.
It's not bad. Like, I mean, it's Ice Cube, so like, it's good.
The way you described it sounded like the way you and I described the new Nas album.
So it's like hip hop for the heads.
Yeah, like, you know, it's nice. Like, you know, obviously it's still Nas. Like, not gonna trash. But
well,
like,
yeah, I think we're all stuck, especially as far as hip hop goes. We're all stuck in like that trap club scene right now. Like, there's a lot of good conscious music out. There's a lot of good like boom bap rap out right now that doesn't get played on the radio because everybody want them hard hitting 808s and that rhythmic melody.
Yeah.
Honestly, that shit drives me crazy because all of these, like, the heavy bass, they just take the instrumentation out of the beat.
I feel like that's sound system based, like, cause I don't know. I feel like it may just be your ear because some beats I can agree with, but I definitely, I guess depending on the engineer, right? Like, I can hear the instrumentation behind it. I mean, some of these people do just pay for like $20 beat packages that come with, like, you know, 808 heavy, nothing in the background kind of loops, and you can hear that shit.
but all I was gonna say is you can hear that it's the heart's not in it anymore. Like, it's just like there's nothing to prove or anything. So like you're delivering it because you can. It still sounds good. The lyrics are good, but there's no power behind it.
Yeah, it's not like he had anything to say. He just kind of put out an album because he wanted to put out. I still
like the stuff that he said, like, really, and like, you know, modern events and everything too. Like, I really do. I like things he said, but like, it's just
his
I just want
takes
that
on
extra.
things.
I just want that extra in it. I don't know.
There was nothing that I guess called.
He has a powerful voice, but like like he doesn't emphasize on any of them.
Something, it just didn't hit the way old Cube hit.
Mm-hmm.
I find that music nowadays, in order to find that real, like, impactful, that stuff that really make you like, oh shit, I'm playing that over again.
Actually, I like Dr. Dre's new album too. He also released a new
Compton?
Is it Compton?
Did it come out like recently or within a couple of years?
I think it has like the Hollywood signs. Like,
yeah, that's Compton.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, that one
was like
good.
a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's newish.
Yeah, the production on that was good. I mean, you're always gonna get great production with a Dre track.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
music has been so hit or miss for me the last couple of years. Like, there's been stuff that's come out that's really, like, captured my ear, and then I feel like we're also in, like, a one-hit wonder phase.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah,
like,
definitely.
and maybe not one-hit wonder, like, because a lot of...
Like the hip-hop pop version of the fucking 90s with alternative?
Exactly. Yeah, where you got these bands that'll come out and they'll put, like, or these groups that'll come out and they'll put out, like, 2 or 3, like, bangers.
Or
and
literally one. Closing time.
And then they fucking disappear. Like, I feel like we're...
What is the over-under of percentage of proms that end with that song?
All. I forget where I was going with the, like... Even being a one-hit wonder, though, is, like, still incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
no, that's not to take away from anything that these people... They're definitely, like, bringing something to the market.
Yeah.
I just... The stability of the market, I find interesting at the moment, because with the internet age of music, it is so volatile and so wavering. Like, yeah, you can be hot for like 6 months on.
Real hot, though.
Yeah, like real hot. Like the peak is much like higher and meteoric than what it was when we were coming up in like the 90s and even the early 2000s, right? Mm. Like when you blow up now, you blow up. Yeah, like the potential.
There
to
were
go
examples
global.
of that though. Nirvana literally was a wake up #1 in the world band.
I feel like, but you get that.
The best comparison for like top notch for anything would be Michael Jackson.
Yeah. And I mean, you got people doing mic numbers off one single now.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
It's a different time.
Yeah, it is like that.
Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yo, Lil Nas X got like how many different like features off that? He had like one with Nas, like, then one with Billy Ray Cyrus. Like, I mean, that fucking Old Town Road shit. And you could say there wasn't really much instrumentation put into that, right? There's not like a whole lot of... You can't tell me... No disrespect to Lil Nas X and like his artistry, but you can't tell me there was a whole lot of thought that went into that shit.
What do you want?
Come on, man.
That's the easiest music to make.
You know, and the way he's able to use his internet marketing and the team he's got behind his internet marketing allows him to go fucking like viral every time this shit drop. And I'm not the hugest Lil Nas X fan, but
I mean, do you think I am?
No, but his impact can't be
You have
denied.
a Lil Nas X shirt. I've seen it.
We know you got the.
You know, I used to actually have a Justin Bieber T-shirt as a troll.
Yeah.
And it was like young Justin Bieber too.
Just his face.
He's another one, right? Like, look at how big of a thing he was a couple of years ago, and I mean, I don't know what kind of numbers.
Crash out real fast.
Yo, I don't know what kind of numbers Bieber's doing nowadays, but I know he just dropped the album.
Pretty decent thing with a duo with Ari. They got like.
Where's Nelly?
Where's Nelly?
Damn.
Where's Ja? I need Ja.
I mean, music is so weird nowadays. I was just reading that, what was it, fucking Medium article, I think it was? No, something with Gene Simmons in it where he was promoting his new guitar brand, I guess touting, you know, his previous sentiment on rock and roll being dead. So, and how he blames
what you're saying is he was doing an interview where he said rock and roll was dead and then was like, buy my bass guitar.
Yes. Essentially. But he was like blaming it on streaming and the fact that people don't pay for music anymore. And I just felt like he's so out of touch. Like, he's so out of touch, yo. Like, you can't say that when these dudes like Lil Nas X are going viral and seem to be making some kind of money. Like, he's saying record companies aren't backing rock bands anymore and they're not, you know, sponsoring the kind of real instrumentation. He's saying like he was saying in the article that these kids don't talking about BTS, right? He went hard at like BTS talking about they don't write music, you know, they don't really play instruments. Where's the new Beatles? We don't have real rock and roll anymore. And as I was talking with y'all about Mike, I'm gonna go on record here and I'm gonna drop this controversial opinion. The Beatles is a fucking boy band that is not rock music.
The first half of their catalog, I agree. The second half, I disagree.
Them niggas learned how to play music on, like, the fly. Like, there's actual reports of... Who was it? Wasn't it Quincy Jones that was saying, like... They had to bring in stand-ins for, like, Ringo all the time because he couldn't fucking play the bass the way they needed to.
Ringo was the drummer.
My bad. Who's the bassist?
Paul McCartney.
Was it Paul? Yo, I don't know. Quincy was talking some wild shit saying...
And
one of my favorite...
George Harrison was the lead guitarist and John Lennon was the rhythm guitarist.
One of my favorite things is like an interview with the Beatles, and like, you know, they're obviously during like the hype of their careers. She's like, "Oh, is Ringo Starr the best drummer in the world?" And they're like, "He's not even the best drummer in the Beatles."
To my point.
Yeah.
To my point. Even though I look like I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, I swear to God, like them, that's not a fucking rock band, yo. It's not a fucking rock.
Once they did the album Revolver, they basically became into psychedelic rock.
That's 60, 70.
So how long had they?
Well, I mean, like they had Revolver, Sgt. Pepper, the White Album.
So how many albums in were they by the time they got to Revolver?
Oh, God, I don't know. I can't, because it was the 60s and I don't really know like how many songs were on an album.
I argue
they were a handful of albums then. Please Please Me was already out. And that
yeah,
was
but what were all of the albums that came out after Revolver?
Oh, after Sgt. Pepper, Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
Obviously.
They're like psychedelic stuff.
So they had a rebranding, right? After they learned to actually play music, they had a rebranding.
Yeah.
They ventured away
Their
from...
second half of their catalog is actually the more, like, revered one.
The first half is
the first half is just like, this is how to make a great pop song.
Yeah, it was like
the second half
One Direction kind of shit.
They're just strumming their guitars, singing the love, like, you know.
Yeah, it's when they were doing that Beach Boys shit.
The Beach Boys actually were an American response to the Beatles.
Exactly. Yeah, they. I know that the two of them.
So what
used
it
to
really
go
is,
back
the
and
Beach
forth.
Boys were doing some Beatles shit. However, Pet Sounds is the greatest produced album of all time.
I guess
it's a boy band.
The most important thing is that the Rolling Stones are great, and they exist because of the Beatles. So, like,
I mean, so the influence
true.
can't be ignored, but for Gene Simmons to sit here and act like there hasn't been a band that can match the Beatles in the last couple of decades is absurd, right? Like, we can admit that
and
that's absurd.
he said decades, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Red Hot Chili Peppers? The Foo Fighters?
He said the Foo Fighters.
Closed.
Yeah, he brought up the Foo Fighters, right? But I'm like, but if you're looking at fucking...
act like Dave Grohl's like not one of the greatest.
People doing...
You know he looks like the drummer from Nirvana?
That is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
He has like a beard and shit though, so like...
Yeah.
But like, it's pretty weird.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that...
This is how this is that dynamic. Yep.
Gene is totally ignoring the
a lot of things
that independent music has had over the last couple of years. He's also showing his bias towards other genres of music by discrediting, the actual like artistry that goes into constructing pop songs, country songs, and hip-hop songs.
And Gene Simmons is just here sitting like, but what about the Beatles?
Well, I also think part of his bias comes from since none of his music is in that it is never in. They're not playing old Kiss music on the fucking radio and shit anymore. How many people are out like downloading Kiss music? So he's not getting any.
I have never consciously listened to Kiss. ever. Not once in my life.
The one thing I can agree with him with, though, is he did seem to be advocating for small, independent, like, rock groups, right? Like, he's asking people to get away from going to your Coachellas and seeing, like, you know, your big record label backed acts, and he's asking people that when we can get out and start going to events, he's asking people to go support your local rock groups and stuff
because
like that.
we do need a revival of rock music.
Yeah,
I've said that
I can
before.
agree. Yeah, I mean, that part I can agree with, right? Like, the rock scene is shamefully, like, non-existent anymore. I mean, I haven't really heard of any groundbreaking, but also Gene is totally ignoring the fact that the genres continue to blur together, right? Like, hip-hop and pop have almost entirely melded into one being at this point.
Now, is
right?
that because hip-hop evolved to become pop, or is that because hip-hop became the social dominant music that it just was then labeled as pop?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think it kind of sounded.
Yeah, I think hip-hop becoming the dominant musical genre cemented it as new pop, right? Like, and pop kind of had to play along. But I mean, you've also got a resurgence of, like, disco pop is coming back into play.
I love disco rock.
Indie and alternative, like, especially even, like, rap, alternative is becoming, like, the new dominant genre, right? Because you've even got alternative hip-hop artists like Lil Nas X, like Kid Cudi, the XXXTentacions that are making the scene. I mean, Billie Eilish herself can be looked at as alternative pop. Benny can be looked at as alternative pop. Miley Cyrus is now doing that alternative, like, indie rock kind of thing.
And there are still really good rock bands, they're just not American.
Well, and yeah, I mean, the scene just doesn't...
It doesn't pop here for some reason.
Well, yeah, I mean, with hip-hop being the dominant genre, and I think the marketing... You remember the East Coast, West Coast beef thing that was the Tupac. I think what happened in the mid-2000s, late 90s, mid-2000s, rock and hip-hop went head to fucking head with each other for, like, dominance in the musical sphere. Yeah. And rock lost hard, yo. And I think they failed when they should have, like, Limp Bizkit was the perfect example of how they could have leaned into this and possibly survived, right? Because hip-hop is now going through this alternative, like, hardcore. When you look at, like, artists like Travis Scott, right? They have this industrial sound to them. They're wearing these band tees for, like, fucking Metallica and shit, like Korn and shit like that. There's definitely space in the hip-hop scene for hardcore, like, rock fans and stuff, in the hardcore rock aesthetic, that it could have worked, but rock decided it wanted to, like, it couldn't share the spotlight. It either had to be rock and roll or nothing.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as the Killers and the Strokes took a break from making music,
Yeah.
Exactly. You had bands like Blink-182 and My Chemical Romance and Panic at the Disco and stuff like that that do have their little weird, like, niches in the alternative, like, hip-hop spaces, right? Like, you will find black people
another
who
fucking
do
band
love
that
those.
I don't know how we can't say that they're, like, up there. Green Day!
Yeah. Green Day, you will find black kids that and hip-hop fans that also love those bands. So there is space,
Deftones.
yeah, for that kind of music in this
New
aesthetic.
metal is a thing for a reason.
Ooh, fucking 311 and shit.
No, new metal's like Limp Bizkit, Deftones, Slipknot, Korn, Incubus.
There
The
was somebody-
fungus among us, Incubus.
What would you call 303?
The, like, white
Electronic
dress
pop.
with the tights under it, like that one?
I don't...
Yes, dude. What's that, like, electro pop?
She'll
I don't
never
know.
cut me woo, she'll never leave me woo. That one? Or are you talking about 311?
No, I already said 311.
I was about to say, 'cause 311's just bad music.
Yeah. I wonder what a new resurgence in rock music would look like now, though? Like, do you guys lean into the Strokes? Like, because
I'd
we're
like to
doing
see-
that new
I'd like
retro.
to see something like Linkin Park.
Something like a Linkin Park. Yeah, like, see...
If there's anything that I expect, if I was going to project
more
what
Linkin
kind
Park,
of rock comes out of this,
less Fort Minor.
Yeah.
punk rock.
That's what I'm saying. Do you lean into the punk rock? Would you call Linkin Park punk rock?
No, they're new metal.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Would you? So you want a resurgence in punk rock and less of a new metal blend?
And I'm not saying that you can't blend hip hop with punk rock, but
Punk rock
I'm
would be a
expecting
hard
some.
resurgence.
I'm expecting some like angry music.
The problem with punk rock is it got left behind for pop punk.
What would you call Radiohead?
Oh man, alternative.
Alternative.
Like Radiohead's so all over the place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Like they've you can almost call them art rock at a certain point.
I think, I would think that it would look like
Well, I mean, they're a mesh band anyway.
if rock had to, if it had to blend in with the hip hop aesthetic, I think it would look somewhere in between Radiohead and Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Right, is where you would land.
Yeah, I like that.
And further on the end of the spectrum, I think, you land somewhere between the Strokes and Green Day, right?
You see what I mean by like the sound? Like imagine a band with like Rancid, like the upbeat, really bass head driven.
That's so hard to imagine like now though. Like that's such a 90s.
Yeah, you got to think about what these Zoomers would want to listen to, right? Like, what kind of rock music would... And I guess they're not the only market, right?
I'm trying to think of rock.
It could actually, because apparently like they're bringing back like the skate thing again. Like that's been their...
And
At
you've
least
got
in my mind, it's
millennial
always been
parents who grew
synonymous.
up with these bands, right, that
Yeah.
will be showing them to their kids.
Oh yeah.
And probably have been. So there will be Zoomers coming up that do listen to that kind of music. It just makes me wonder what they're... Because like I said, they're constantly blending. The genres are blurred together. Now we're starting to blur like hip-hop into like fucking country music and shit. Or country music into
It's
hip-hop.
the great Amerimusical melting pot.
It's lazy. Leave country where it's at.
Yeah, we can take that out.
Or maybe
But,
country rock makes a resurgence.
I wouldn't
Americana,
be,
like
kinda like
hard
folk.
Americana.
No, all right. So when you're looking,
Yeah.
when you're talking about country rock, are you talking like Rascal Flatts or Social Distortion?
I don't even know Social Distortion.
It's pretty grungy.
Is it?
Its technical term is cowpunk, like cowboy punk.
That's so wild. Well, I mean, I occasionally dabble in the hip hop genre.
It's like a grungy rock.
Like the Yellow
It's just
Wolf
like,
song with
he, like,
Kid Rock.
Kinda
Essentially, right.
He just kind of uses like country lyrics, like just bad luck.
So it's got that twang. So it's punk rock, but with a twang.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No.
I'm thinking more of the punk rock energy. Like it doesn't have to like sound like punk rock, but you know punk rock when you hear it.
I know Americana and folk have made like a strong resurgence in the last couple of years.
Creedence Clearwater, like CCR. Like,
Yeah.
I like that folky shit.
I mean, that song Lil Talks was huge when we worked together.
But it's also a genre of music that I'm not gonna say I don't care for, because I've heard folk songs that like I like, but I don't keep them in my rotation.
Yeah, you don't
All-
like
all the
search out
CCR.
folk.
Yeah.
All of CCR.
Coming all around the band. I mean, shout out to Russia or Florida. The opening for that, the first part of that is CCR.
I figured.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Music is totally, it's in an unpredictable state to me, because shit that goes viral, I don't always understand why. I'm getting to that point now where I'm like, okay, kids, y'all have it. Y'all
You know what else went viral? Oprah destroyed the British monarchy.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that
Break!
after break. Alright, so I guess we gotta talk about it, even though I could care less about the Royals, right? It's big trending news, it's in the water, so we might as well look at it.
How surprised are we that a big rich white family living in opulence...
A big rich inbred white family that is worried about their biracial child's skin color.
The lightest skinned black girl I've ever seen.
She's mixed her damn self.
Yeah.
Right? Right? So it's like the chances of this child coming out with, I don't know, fucking olive skin would have been, like, slim to fucking none. I mean, Harry is, what, a ginger his damn self? Like, come on. Oh my god. This shit is so...
By the way, I do want to shout out, Harry is a fucking badass. Like, Harry and William... I remember seeing an interview of Harry when he was deployed, and like the siren went off, and in the middle of the interview, he just gets up, runs off.
Didn't he get caught in a fucking Nazi costume at a Halloween party?
Probably, I don't know.
I feel like I totally remember photos of him in a fucking I don't want to call it a full-blown Hitler costume, but he was like wearing... like an
outside
SS
of its
uniform.
Representation, strictly from like an aesthetic point of view, especially for military uniform, they had really nice uniforms.
I mean, they were designed by a fashion designer.
They looked good.
They better have been. Fucking them being designed, like, if I went out of my way to have fucking Calvin Klein, design me a fucking uniform. We better be dripped the fuck out when we go commit genocide. The fuck?
But who would have thought that living under the scrutinizing public spotlight of British tabloids need to uphold themselves to that visual standard would be mentally exhausting on somebody.
Yeah, especially when it seems like from my understanding, the British tabloids and the royal family have a very close working relationship with each other. Mm-hmm. So the fact that Meghan and Harry were subjected to the kind of like treatment that they were from the tabloids already speaks volumes of how they felt about
they threw them to the wolves.
Yeah.
Well, they also feel kind of betrayed. You know, like it's shitty subjectively, or like I guess objectively outside, but like I don't think it's anything like American tabloids wouldn't do if something the same thing. Like,
no, absolutely not. I mean, we did the same thing to Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. Well,
how long do you think before Meghan Markle starts working again?
Can you imagine if like one of the president's offspring like?
I'm thinking about the treatment that they give Michelle all the time, right? Like they've been calling her a fucking trans, right? They've been calling her a trans woman for years now. And
look at those arms, bro.
Like, seriously. So, it's nothing. The treatment that she gets from the tabloids isn't that surprising, right? It's just, I think a lot of people are shocked because it's very reminiscent of how Harry's mother was treated. I mean, Princess Diana also found herself in an interracial relationship and was dragged by the British tabloids for it. Right. And even American tabloids, to the point where it seemed like the paparazzi was the reason why she ended up in that fucking car crash. So, all of this speaks volumes.
Are you sure it wasn't Jeffrey Epstein?
Are you sure it wasn't the British royal family?
Which was also because of Jeffrey Epstein?
Look, so all of this speaks volumes to the reason why she would have been under such mental stress going through all of this, and why they would have wanted to get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
You know, the child isn't even being given.
By the way, shout out to Harry for like choosing his wife instead of just like living as a fucking prince. Well, he's like, oh, you can't deal with this shit? All right, honey, I got you. Let's go.
I mean, he still has like royalties either way. Like he's got money, and like he's not going to be he's not the older brother. So
yeah, he's not.
They officially renounced their titles, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wasn't really going to be in line for the crown anytime soon.
No, he was like fourth in succession.
Exactly.
Like William is the direct heir.
Right. And they still got to go through fucking Peter first. Like if the Queen
Prince
dies,
Charles?
Yeah, there you go, Prince Charles. Yeah, so the Queen dies, it's still got to go through you said 2-3 other people before.
She's been there forever.
I'm pretty sure. The William might die before she dies.
Yo, it's God, didn't she just have a birthday too?
They're gonna end up making like 18 seasons of The Crown.
She's like fucking 104 now. Like, oh my god.
She can't be that old.
I think she's like 90.
You want to bet?
She got it pretty young.
94. 94. So she's 10 years younger than what I thought she.
We're not off by very much.
Hold on. So doesn't that mean that Betty White is older than Queen Elizabeth? 99. Yeah, so Betty White is older than Queen Elizabeth by 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And
Betty's still like...
Betty White looks younger than fucking Queen Elizabeth.
I mean, how old was Stan when he died? 95?
I'd say
94, I think.
Stan,
I mean, we met him when he was like, what, 88? And he was still sharp as a tack.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, he's
I mean, Queen Elizabeth don't seem to be off the mark either, but I mean, I guess if you getting intravenously fed the blood of the youth, then you probably would be a bit more cognizant then.
That's where the blood I'm selling's going. Shit!
I thought you were
Hi,
7
Ted.
years old.
Huh?
Said I thought you were 200 years old.
Yeah, how do you think I'm getting the blood? I'm a 228-year-old vampire.
This is gonna get into some sketchy water here. But this whole, speaking of sketchy water, this whole...
Do you want to know what the black market price is for a kidney?
Or like a few thousand.
5,000.
Here we go.
A heart's 20.
I'm not gonna have... Only 20?
Yeah.
For a kidney, that doesn't seem a right price jump.
You're right. I'm like,
I can do
only
without a
20,000
kidney.
for a heart?
What do I do with that? I can't.
Well, yeah, a hitman probably is like, bang. 20 minutes later is like, alright, you can come get this.
I don't know. I feel like a heart should go for more than that.
Yeah.
On the black market, at least 50.
40.
I'm saying 50.
It's
It's a heart, you know?
Right.
If I have come to the black market for a heart, that must mean I have the cash and I'm desperate. So guess what I'm going to do?
Or
Make you pay for this fucking heart. Do you know how hard it is to get a functioning, decent heart to somebody? First of all, I have to find it. Then
it's the black market. That's probably not hard.
acquire it. In this day
I was
and
also
age,
thinking Temple of Doom.
I'm still thinking Temple of Doom, right? But it's still fucking 2021. So we've all seen First 48. They just brought back Unsolved Mysteries. Nigga, if hearts just start randomly getting ripped out of people's chest, it's not gonna take long for, I mean, unless you doing it in fucking, I don't know, Uganda or something like that.
If that type of shit starts happening, I'm just gonna be like James Cameron. Stop writing. Just whatever you're doing, stop writing.
Yeah. But the fallout from this interview has impacted so many places that you wouldn't think it would impact. Like, Piers Morgan just walked off of his fucking job and, like, is now, like, resigned from his job, air quotes there. Yeah, Sharon Osbourne has now had an investigation looked into her after getting into it with,
Piers Morgan.
No, she was defending Piers Morgan with somebody else on... What show is it they host? The Talk?
The View?
Is it The View? I always get them confused, right?
Sharon on The View?
I know Whoopi's on The View.
It is The Talk.
Yeah.
And her and, whoops. Her and Cheryl Underwood got into it because Cheryl was saying that... Cheryl was explaining the point that other people were trying to make. That Piers Morgan's comments about Meghan Markle and the whole undertone of people defending the monarchy had, you know, racist microaggressions, like, just built into the whole entire argument, right? And even Piers Morgan's, like, whole defense of he's not racist, he just has personal issues with Meghan, still felt like the dismissal of her, like, agency, you know, just had, like, all kinds of
Also, why is it personal with Meghan?
And racist undertones. Well, we'll get into that in a second, but Sharon got, like, really, like, offended at Cheryl trying to claim that Pierce was being racist and, like, lit into fucking Sharon lit into Cheryl about that shit. So much so that it carried over. They went to commercial break, and it carried over after the commercial break. So you know they had been going at it at that table. Yeah, the whole entire time.
Holy fuck.
Now they're investigating Sharon because of it. Piers walked off because him and his co-host got into it over the racial undertones, and his constant, like, berating of Meghan Markle. Like, every time they talk about Meghan, he's got something foul to say out of his mouth about her. And it turns out that a lot of that stems from the fact that they were talking at some point. According to Pierce, they were talking. They met at, like, an art show or some shit like that. And they exchanged numbers, and they had been having text conversations that were going really well until she ghosted him. And then he found out it's because she started talking to Harry. And ever since then, Pierce has had it out for fucking Meghan. Because I guess in some world, not to body shame or anything like that, Piers fucking Morgan's old fucking nasty old fucking sack of pus ass thought that he had a chance with fucking Meghan Markle. Like,
Right.
get the fuck out of here. So, yeah, I don't know. Idiots just keep exposing themselves defending idiots, and it just feels...
He shot his shot, but then he ended up bitching to the referee instead of running back on D.
Like, you lost, bro. Like,
Right.
he just made himself look like an incel. Like, get the fuck out of here. This shit is so... It's so wild to me because, yeah, who in 2021 didn't think that there was some fucked up racist shit going on inside the fucking Buckingham Palace, right?
Well, who in 2021 is going to be eligible for their vaccine by May 1st?
Oh, I already got my
Everybody.
first shot.
Everyone! Every adult is going to be
First?
eligible
Yes.
for the vaccine
Yep.
It's
on
what, 3
the
months?
1st of May.
No, I gotta wait a month. I got my first shot on Thursday. It
Nice.
was the Pfizer vaccine, I believe. So I gotta wait like 23 days, something like that, in order to get the second shot. I was fine. I haven't grown a tail yet. My nose hasn't fallen off. I'm still waiting for those powers, though.
I was so ready to be Richie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my arm was just, like, sore the next day. But that's also because I went and got the vaccine. They did make you wait, like, 15 minutes. So, when I went and got it, you had to answer, like, a set of questions before you got it. If you had, like, symptoms or if you could potentially be of some kind of risk, allergic risk. You had to wait a little bit longer than if you didn't. I ended up only having to wait 15 minutes after I got the shot just to check for like side effects and stuff like that. And they had everybody 6 feet apart in a gymnasium. Yeah, and you just had to wait 15 to 30 minutes. I went home and immediately like worked out afterwards. So my arm was sore the next day, but it's also because I worked out after I got. It would have been sore regardless.
Yeah.
And there's still a little bit of sensitivity around the injection site, but it's I'm okay. A1, ready to go. And in 23 days I'll get my second shot and
Dude,
we'll be
whatever the fuck I want.
And according to Biden, the goal
Who's
is
mad?
to have it so we can have like he used this as a basic metric that we can all have like a cookout on July 4th, Cool Zack's birthday.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
It used to be. Everyone's busy now.
Yeah. Oh, according to Trump, and Fox News, we should all be thanking Trump for
That was so sad.
being able.
That was
to
one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
We should thank him.
And you know what? I bet it was still under 280 characters.
Oh my God, Joe! Talk about self-absorbed. No, you know who you should thank? Dolly Parton. That's who you should fucking thank. You should thank Beyonce and Jay-Z. If we're, gonna be touting our oligarchical overlords, let's make sure we're thanking the right ones. I'm sure Tom Hanks even donated some fucking money after him and Rita got.
Yeah.
Come on, like, Jesus.
Our favorite bartender?
Jack. Yeah, I'm sure Jack donated.
Jack
some
probably
fucking
did
money.
something.
Like, but Donald, I mean, I don't know. Who's this? Now,
We gotta give Jack credit for pulling the shotgun on Donald.
Yo, it's so funny because now there's actual investigations going into how effective Operation Warp Speed was, right? Like, it's insane that this shit is even still happening.
Right.
Like, I saw an article a couple of days ago.
It's just still gonna happen.
Yeah,
Some spread out.
Yeah, honestly, we did. Like,
Scatter.
I say it's insane, but it's only insane that
That's not every day anymore.
as the blatancy is insane, right? Like, we used to, like, kind of, like, be somewhat cagey about this shit, like, hide it somewhat, right? Now, thanks to Donald and social media, everything is just, all the corruption is out in the fucking open, right?
Oh, another real quick Donald fact. So he actually issued a cease and desist order to the GOP to stop using his name and likeness at all their events.
Wow. Queen Petty. Queen Petty. Should we just start calling him Tom Petty? Like...
Don't do that to Tom Petty.
Yo, I just feel like...
So then we take that a little bit step further then and, like, you know, remove, like, his picture from the White House and everything then as well, too.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Just put the Laughing Man sticker over top of him.
Because he would be the
Replace the picture with a picture of Harrison Ford in Air Force One.
Are we gonna do that to Harrison Ford?
That's just taking his place. It doesn't have to be
Just do Morgan Freeman. He was the president and Olympus Has Fallen.
I don't know.
Or you can do Martin Sheen.
I don't know if it's fair to
not gonna do
replace
still taking Trump.
Donald Trump's. Yeah, because I was gonna say if we're still talking about Trump, but then it's all pictures of Morgan Freeman, I don't feel like it's fair to
How about
Morgan
Martin
Freeman.
Sheen?
Right.
Will you settle for Martin Sheen?
Yeah, I'll settle for Martin Sheen.
Okay.
Or what about Alec Baldwin? We could just do fucking Alec Baldwin's caricature of him on a Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I like that.
That moment when Alec Baldwin was like,
I like that actually.
Yeah.
Mr. President, here's your Emmy. I was like, dog, you just served him so bad.
His whole entire presidency, right? And they're still like seething over it, son. Attempting to formulate their revenge plot as we speak. I mean, Georgia's got this insane like voter restriction bill on the fucking docket to come up in the next election cycle. Or I don't even know if the people get to vote on it, right?
It's like
what are they? They're restricting the number of polling places, right? They're cutting back the time frame in which you can vote early. Like I think they cut it down by like 8 days. They made it
literally
so
voter fraud.
they made it so that you have to mail.
They'll be doing that,
ID.
and then all of a sudden, Stacey Abrams, Killer Mike, and LeBron James will walk in. And
Oh, no.
like,
Look, they made it so that these get out the vote people can't group votes together and mail them in for them anymore. They made it so you can't give them food and water when they're standing in line.
Like you can't give them fucking like that's
Like food and water. You can't give them bags of chips and bottles of water if they're waiting out in the hot sun to do their American duty.
the only other country I can think of that would like you can't give water to people would be like North Korea and China.
Yo, it's wild because then they will look at the left and they will be like,
This is your fault.
Yep, and they'll be like, look, it's the damn socialists. They're the reason why we can't have nice open votes.
God,
I saw a good tweet where it was, you ever notice why every Democratic presidency begins with a Recovery Act?
Yeah.
Democrat, like, and I'm not a Democrat, right? Like, I guess the closest thing I could
Liberal, just not like
I'm a democratic socialist, Joe. Like,
socialist.
I'm not afraid to call myself a democratic socialist. I do believe that a capitalist socialist society, like, those two things can work together.
Absolutely.
We see perfect examples of them in Europe all the time.
Absolutely.
And I don't believe the idea that this country is too big to be a socialist country. I think
Doesn't
what we
make any fucking
have
sense.
a ruling class that has set up a system of propaganda that has made people believe that a socialist system would not work for this country.
The socialist system would literally just raise the lower bar. The capitalist society still exists for all the rich people to like flourish, literally flourish in America. America's literally made for rich people to flourish, and that will not change.
No, we're way too far into it now for it to change. All it could do
You
is
think this is GameStop?
Yeah. And if you raise the
This isn't a
bar,
GameStop.
and raise it for them too.
Exactly, but they don't want that because they know
everyone's worse.
We're at a war of resources. No, we're at a war of resources right now with
The
fucking
big game of Settlers of Catan.
climate change happening as like increasingly rapid as it's happening. We're facing like shortages of like fresh water. The population continues to grow, which means we need space for people. Our fucking infrastructure is crumbling, and it would take a World War II level effort to like refurbish this country to continue to like support at the rate it needs to support, right? And they don't want to
with capitalistic trading.
They don't want to risk their wealth
trading.
and their capital for that.
Right. That's what it is. Instead of warmongering, you just open up free trade a little bit more.
No, they're willing to oppress the lower class until they can find a viable
A total victory for themselves.
Yeah, until they can find a viable replacement
Or
for
until the
lower
working class
work.
Or until the working class gets the guillotine working.
As some I cannot remember what state it is, but some state just put the possibility of firing squads back on the docket for their death. It might be Texas. But
That sounds like some Texas shit.
Because of the difficulties of actually obtaining like the
like
chemicals for lethal injection, and because like lethal injections don't necessarily work as good as they've been touted to be, they're now proposing that maybe they bring back firing squads, and I'm like, wow, like we just keep stepping further and further into George Orwell, like the fuck.
We're reverting back pretty hard. It was like already like a month ago now. I've seen Trump 2024 flags.
Yeah.
And like you already know.
Do we even think he's gonna live that long?
Yeah.
America's gonna look like this weird mix of The Purge in 1984.
No shit. And you already like, no, Biden's not gonna get reelected.
He's not gonna run again. There's no way he's gonna run again.
No, he only ran to save corporate America.
Well, DNC forced him to win, so Bernie Sanders wouldn't win. That
to save corporate America.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
and that's what I said. Look,
it's not for it's to get rid of Bernie Sanders.
I think we're far enough removed from it now where people can go back and look at that whole Bloomberg thing and really see the play that happened there.
It's pretty straightforward.
He stepped in to take the heat off of Joe Biden so that campaign could recoup for a second, because Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders were the front runners at that time.
By like a lot. Biden was like at the bottom of the fucking...
the absolute bottom of the fucking...
Because like Pete Buttigieg was like above him.
Yes. Pete was looking like he might be the corporate choice, right? And it gave Bloomberg
fucking
came
Obama
in
clone
and
made in a
gave
laboratory.
enough time to Biden, took the heat off of Biden long enough, like he was the punching bag for everybody. It even gave Biden some credibility, right? Because then he could step in and not look like the $1 billion candidate.
That's literally why the DNC is fucking disgusting. Like
twice now they fucked Bernie Sanders out of the nomination. Bernie can't even take a cabinet position, right? Because if he steps out of his Senate seat, then we potentially lose the balance.
Right.
And Bernie knows that, and he's actually there for the people, and
That's
he's not
exactly
gonna do
why he said he wouldn't do it. Him and Joe, so he still got fucked all the way around, Joe. All the way. It does. It does, because that's probably the closest thing to a genuine president we've had since Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter was fucking great too, yeah.
But he was a terrible president because he was a genuinely good person.
He was just a fucking normal good guy.
Yeah, and I feel like Bernie would have been the same. Maybe not a terrible president for the budget, but once again, we look at the budget.
Bernie reminds me more of JFK. Like he's like actually like politically progressive, like there.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Or maybe like an RFK, right? Like I feel like Bernie was probably more closer to a Bobby.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like JFK was liberal for not. I don't want to call him political theater, right? Because I definitely feel like he believed what he said. Like they totally were for progressive, but I feel like he would have been like the Biden kind of progressive, where we would have saw small incremental changes with JFK. Where I feel like Bobby would have definitely, like with him being AG and all that, he would have known
JFK
how
was,
to
like,
go to
very repressed though by like everyone under him.
The
but,
same
like,
way
I just, like,
Obama
meant as far as, like being like absolutely.
Yeah.
I just meant as far as like being like physically like going like even before his presidency, like in Vietnam checking like shit out. Like Bernie like always like literally always just.
No, Bernie definitely
man.
wasn't to be played with.
He literally makes me want to fucking cry.
And you know, he did the same thing that Trump did. He inspired a full generation of people to become politically intelligent and socially aware of what is going on in their government and look for the answers. Like, these are the reasons why we can't have the nice things. We can't have the nice things because your government is spending all of the money that we could be using to build low-income housing on jets that don't work and on fucking military bases that we don't need anymore.
Right, exactly. We're not at war. We don't need these machines. Like, and when we do, we can do it then. But it's not like that money's like going to our enlisted.
No,
it's going,
no. We're not even taking care of our veterans.
Right, exactly.
After all that shit is said and done,
our enlisted, like our current enlisted, are still like not even like
yes. Absolutely, man.
Much
it's
less
insane.
the veterans. Like, it's absolutely, yeah.
And then when you sit back and you just have like a digest of like fucking Rush Limbaugh and Fox News, you know, you're not looking at all you're hearing is what the Democrats want to spend money on. You're not hearing what we're actually spending money on. Right? And why we're spending money on that. Because when you stop and you look at where all of our money is, then people go, oh no, fix that. No. Instead, we want to keep people ignorant, and we tell them the reason why we can't have nice things is because they keep letting immigrants over here. And they're taking up all of your health care. And the fucking poor people just don't like, or they don't accept the schools that we gave them already. It's not good enough for them. They need tablets too, just like your kids. So we had to give them
the funding from the schools.
Right, exactly. You've already pulled the funding. It's crazy how the Republicans will do that shit, man. Not the Republican people, again, for our listeners, but your Republican politicians.
Representatives, extreme conservatives.
Will pull funding from these places, and then when they places demand more funding, they're like, oh, we've already given you so much money. We can't give you any more. But you just pulled the money from us. Oh, did we?
Good prime example with Ted Cruz in Texas. Like, oh, we can't help you out with the monetary, but when it all of a sudden, can we have some money, guys?
You know what's even better? You know what's even more effective than brainwashing than Fox News? Being inside Wanda Maximoff's hex.
Nice transition.
We got some turtle takes.
Hey, it's Franklin. Look at that turtle go, bro.
About WandaVision. Vision.
Oh, so you finally watched the
Finally
last
watched
episode?
it. Finally watched it. And I saw that still, and I'm like, of Vision, and I'm like, wow, they really put that chain on there, and it was done.
Yeah. I love it because Paul Bettany says he wants to play Vision for like the rest of his life.
I thought you were just gonna say because Paul Bettany is the fucking man.
He is the fucking man, and he realizes like people love him as that character, so he's like, I'm totally down to ride this out till the wheels fall off.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so here for it, Joe, because I know based on the story that they told, we can't have more WandaVision. Especially because technically there is no more Vision, right? But the fact that Paul Bettany says he wants to play Vision for the rest of his life means that we can have more Vision.
Did the body of Vision, the white one, like, destroy himself, or did it just fly in the sky?
We don't know. It's left out in the open. But you know how Kevin Feige and them work. They won't give us clues to whether that leaves some kind of ambiguity of him being alive. They're just
if they do, it's fake ones.
Yep.
Who's
Like
the
they're
person
doing
that
with the
always
Captain America
spoils?
thing.
Who's the person that always spoils it? Oh, it's Mark Ruffalo, right?
Mark Ruffalo and Tom
So yeah,
Holland.
you
It's
remember
Tom Holland.
No, it's Ruffalo and Holland.
Yeah.
Holland's
So
worse, but
Ruffalo was doing an
You expect
interview with
better
Don
Ruffalo.
Cheadle,
Yeah.
and for Infinity War, and they were like, "Oh my God, so does someone die?" And he's like, Don's like, "Oh yeah, everybody dies," and Mark's like, "No, it's just half of them."
Yeah, I remember that because then Don Cheadle just looks at him
He's
like,
like, "Dog."
fuck.
they think, like, Mark Ruffalo, like, he's a grown ass man, and like he's not a new actor. He's been doing this for a couple decades.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So when they do it, I feel like that's part of the marketing, right?
I knew all along.
When Tom Holland accidentally unrolls the poster in front of everybody,
Yeah.
like the first time he did it, you're like, oh, okay, that may have been an accident.
Yeah.
But
there's probably some in there that are like, go ahead and do this.
Yeah, and now
Fan
it's
service.
fun to look for the things where it's like, oh, was Tom Holland supposed to expose that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's part of the game.
But-
Everything's, what do they call them? ARGs, the alternative reality games
Yeah.
now.
We now know that, like, the kids weren't real, Pietro wasn't real, all of the people were real, but they were brainwashed.
Even Pietro was brainwashed.
Yeah, well, yeah, Pietro was real, but he was brainwashed.
And I think that's an Easter egg too. I saw an article about that being an Easter egg, like the person he actually ended up being. But so yeah, I mean, essentially, this whole thing was to give Wanda a backstory
And some way to introduce the Skrulls!
and to introduce Blue Marvel, or not Blue Marvel. What are they calling her?
Photon?
Yeah. So
Her name in the show is Monica, right?
Yeah, Monica Rambeau.
But yeah, so, the Skrulls! Everything as we know it in the MCU could just get entirely fucked, because they could just be like, Tony was a Skrull all along!
Oh god, yeah, people already complain about that, right? Like, nobody stays dead in the MCU, which is why everybody thought, what's her name, Gamora was gonna come back.
I mean,
she technically did, though, didn't she? Like, the weird, like, I don't...
she definitely went splat.
Yeah. But did she stay split? Didn't they do some weird, like, bring her back from, like,
I
the
thought
old
Gamora
her?
was back, but Black Widow was split.
Yeah, Gamora
Oh,
was
did they go back in time and get her?
Yeah, but Black Widow is still split.
Yeah, Black Widow's still split.
And there's rumors that
Wait,
maybe...
whoa, she's dead?
Spider split, yep.
I totally forgot that Black Widow dies.
Yeah.
Spider split, yep. So, her movie's gonna be
She got
dead.
splatted there too?
Her and Tony stayed dead.
She, like, literally got splatted.
Yeah.
She fell off the Soul Stone thing, though?
Yeah, remember her and
Hawkeye.
fucking Hawkeye
Right.
were like doing that whole no me.
Okay,
No, I'm gonna
you.
jump. No, you can't jump. You have a family.
Oh, holy fuck.
You still have your whole life in front of you. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, no, that whole
That was like as bad as like the ending of Rise of Skywalker, was Kylo and Rey just changing their lives with each other.
Oh yeah.
Scarlett's like,
No,
can
me.
you kill
No,
me
you.
off? I have
No,
a
me.
lot of appropriative roles I want to do.
Oh man, son. Yeah, her and Tony stayed dead.
Yeah, Tony's gone.
Chris is
Yeah.
still alive, but there's rumors that he may reprise his role again. He's saying he's not, though. Marvel's saying he's not. But there's rumors keep popping up. Fans keep reading into things. And I think if they did an Old Man Logan, there's definitely room in there for an Old Man Cap. And they're saying that it may be...
If they do an Old Man Logan, it has to be Hugh Jackman.
It was.
They did.
They did.
Oh,
It was-
they
Well, I
did
mean,
do
like,
it.
if they were gonna do another one, like,
No, but what I'm saying is they did
They
that.
did that, so
so
they were
there's
doing-
Oh, yeah,
definitely
yeah.
room for Old Man Cap to come back. Especially when you get into like Marvel's like Illuminati series run of the Avengers and all that shit.
yeah.
So
Any
The old
other
Logan
like
movie was
specific
good.
takes off of WandaVision? I mean, like that was the episode where it was like, all right, this is super MCU. There's like a witch fight, and you know, like Vision's fighting Vision.
yeah, no, that was the first like superhero, like real superhero-y aspect of the whole entire show. And it's
Which,
cool
while
that
they
that
are
was the
distorting,
climax,
they are
but-
distorting what you can do with an MCU story. They're still superheroes. You got to have some flying around. And,
Well, yeah, I mean,
a
that's what
punch
we
here and
came
there.
here for, right? Like, you told us a story about grief, and we sat through it because we all were waiting for the superhero shit. But, I mean, we all enjoyed the story, though. And I think what they are doing...
everybody's telling Martin Scorsese, "Suck it."
I think that what they are starting to do, and what they've kind of been doing with these with the superhero genre is cool, because they are exploring these different storytelling avenues with these characters that we're all familiar with, which kind of makes it more, you know, palatable for people who may not have wanted to. Because, I mean, this essentially was like a Lifetime movie about this woman who lost her husband. And, like, I don't know, we could even say in, like, war, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
and
just-
she was going through the grief cycle, and we all watched it because it was superhero shit.
They already like the characters.
Yeah.
It's just nice that we're getting like variety back in superhero movies.
You cannot tell me though that
Yeah,
David
it's
Duchovny showing up as Mulder wouldn't fit perfectly.
we had, you know, the '90s. We had like the Blade, like dark gritty and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when Marvel started coming out and taking over, it was that like
Yeah, really campy, like, yeah.
cartoony almost.
Yeah,
which is
everybody
fine.
remembers, like, the early Spider-Mans and shit.
Which
And,
is
like, we love those.
Fine. Yeah, absolutely, it's fine.
Because
but,
they
like,
were fun.
But like it started, it really took over, and it did become almost exclusively that. And then that's just like what we were always
Yeah.
doing. Anything, it was the same movie.
I mean, Batman Forever, right?
Right.
Like,
But like now we're, you know, they're making their R movies, they're making their dark gritty series. You know,
well, yeah,
so-
I mean,
The
we
MCU learned from Spider-Man 3, and they're like, we can't do that.
we talk about it all the time. Like, Civil War, or not Civil War, but Winter Soldier, that was... All the Captain America movies were, like, spy movies, essentially.
Yeah,
right?
actually.
Like,
Well, Captain America 1's a war movie.
spy war movies.
I was getting ready to say that it's not
Kinda
much of a
coincide.
difference
Kinda
there.
coincide.
It's not much of a difference there, other than how involved is the military. Yeah, and
Any other overall takes on WandaVision?
it was great. Like,
Was it
I
really
said,
good?
It set the bar. It's really set the bar high for these Marvel shows, right? So now it makes me wonder what we're gonna get with Loki, what we're gonna get with Winter Soldier, or not Winter. Yeah, no, Captain and the Falcon.
Let's just call it Captain Falcon.
Yeah, yeah, I hate doing that though, because it always makes me think of
Falcon Punch!
Yes. I know they're getting ready to do the What If series, which is really gonna throw things into it.
No, it's none of it's gonna be canon. It's just what if. They're not gonna
an
throw a
issue.
screw in anything.
That's
It's an issue. Because then what happens if they decide to make one thing canon from the What If series?
that's
Does
an
that
issue.
validate
we already have Doctor Strange.
What's
fuckery.
what's the timeline
Oh,
where
God,
where
the
Scott
Doctor
and
Strange
Jean
and the
actually
Measure
have
of Madness
kids?
or whatever? Yo.
We'll go to that timeline. Did you know that as fucked up as the Summers Gray family tree is, in regular Earth 616, they don't have any kids.
I guess not, because in none of the shows they've never gotten to the point where, like, they've...
No, not even in the
died.
comics. In the regular 616, Jean and Scott don't have any kids.
I'm just thinking about, like, Marvel cinematic universes and stuff like that.
So
and
it's
all
not
the
fucking
different...
blowing up.
Yeah, runs of the Teen Titans, the fucking X-Men. The original Teen Titans. Ooh.
Ooh, that shit.
Ooh.
Right.
Hold on. Who came out first? It was probably the Teen Titans came out first.
Then what?
Before the X-Men.
Original first one.
Yeah.
That's probably right around the same time, actually.
The show or the actual comic?
I'm thinking comics. The Teen Titans comic probably came out way before.
X-Men?
Yeah. Now y'all gonna make me lose.
No, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna say X-Men
X-Men's
came out
pretty
first.
old.
So is Teen Titans, Joe.
The characters are. I don't know.
Teen Titans Go.
The first appearance of the Teen Titans was in 1964.
Oh wow,
close.
it's actually close.
Ooh, X-Men beat them out by 1 year, 1963.
Yeah.
1963.
That was close.
Yeah, that was very close. It was way closer than I thought.
Hell yeah.
So the X-Men were the original Teen Titans. I'll say that. I stand on that hill.
Hood poke decree.
Bunch of angsty kids with fucking powers. I mean, that whole thing, right? Like, it's kind of like the Spider-Man, like how the first Spider-Man movie can be looked at as an allegory for puberty. I feel like the X-Men can be looked at the same way, as an allegory for like puberty and like racial injustice
absolutely. That's
coming
always-
into your awareness.
They've never shied away from.
Yeah. Being that
Yeah.
they're always like in college or high school kids.
Oh, so I
And
did
they
have-
always, have you noticed, like, X-Men always get their powers around, like, fucking puberty, right?
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
always develop their mutant abilities.
Right then, yeah.
Or if they're, really gifted, then they'll have had them from a young age. They'll be like, Jean was bending spoons.
Yeah.
Jean was also
Child.
losing
As she
her
came out
fucking
of the
mind.
room.
Well, that's the Phoenix Force, but
Yeah, the Phoenix Force.
So there
That's
was-
always a weird thing to me, that, like, the Phoenix Force is its own separate entity that just happened to attach itself to Jean.
when you're that powerful.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did want to do one follow-up on our discussion last week. So I was thinking about
Elaborate on the discussion for the listeners.
the discussion we had about coming to terms with problematic nature of old media,
Oh, okay.
old artists.
So do we cancel, censor, or what did we end up saying? Cancel, censor, or
Destroy.
Say like we'll take Bill Cosby as an example. So somebody is like, oh yeah, some of my big inspirations are like Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Jim Gaffigan, and the work of Bill Cosby.
well, yeah. I mean, you can say the work of Bill Cosby, and I feel like that provides context that.
But I mean, like,
are
if you say-
acknowledging his work without crediting, I guess, him as a person. What did you? What was your follow up?
That was it. It was just
Oh,
some way.
that's your
It was
follow-up. Yeah.
basically like a
So,
way of.
what do you say?
See, I'm not trying to do Godwin's law this early in the discussion. Look, all I'm saying is the German army was extremely efficient.
It's like, people are so sensitive about it, but like, you just can't talk. But like, it was efficient for a reason. Like, people were inspired for a reason.
Yo,
Let's stop talking about Nazis
That's your full circle, Dan.
because we know the government is listening.
That's your full circle.
Hi,
Yeah.
Ted.
Yeah, I mean, you can be a fan of Miramax films without, thinking Harvey Weinstein is an awesome person.
Just a way of stating what an artist would have done or is important,
Saying I'm a
but
fan of
separating the artist from the person.
work. Or, separating the art from the person.
So, like,
saying,
if you are, like, that's why I was like, Chappelle, Gaffigan, like, just them, and then the work of Bill Cosby.
Right, or the work of R. Kelly.
Yes.
Like, these companies like TCM and Disney Plus and HBO Max are doing is good. I think these
Me too.
content warnings in front of these problematic issues is a way to get ahead of the cancel culture marketing train.
Saying, like, all of that is good. I'm saying, like, if somebody was going to have a discussion about,
Yeah. Oh, so
like,
you're saying
the
in
work of
ways
Bill,
of it just-
like, the work of Bill Cosby,
Yeah.
if they said Bill Cosby is an inspiration to them,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's going to be like, but if you say, like, yeah, the work of Bill Cosby, I'm inspired by.
Right, like saying you're a fan of the entertainment aspect of Barnum and Bailey and not a fan of the idea of like torturing elephants
Right.
and whatchamacallit, subjugating people for profit.
So like there you could say like the spectacle of Barnum and Bailey.
Right. I'm a fan of the
Does that like
spectacle.
approach like over PC though? Do you have to like specifically acknowledge every time? That's what I was saying with like the Kobe Bryant thing. So you have to say the work of Kobe Bryant, like
Right. I get what you mean.
It's just a question, like, you know, like you're not like, oh yeah, they're perfect, you know. But
I think,
like, what at what point does it approach like going over, like, you know, you're just pretexting it too much?
I think in that case, it's based on the environment and the environmental context that you're in.
Context is always everything.
So yeah, and I think it's just providing a bit of social intelligence is what we were discussing, right?
Sure.
Like, we're approaching a new era of social awareness and social intelligence, and a lot of the cancel culture PC thing it's really just a hashing out of what the new normal is going to look like. So instead of assuming, you know, it's the gender thing, right? Like, so instead of assuming if somebody is a he or a she, you ask for their pronouns now, right? And it seems silly to us at first, but it also seems silly to integrate busing into people. It's like, well, we're all riding the same bus. What difference does it make if you sit in the back or the front?
So
like, it
basically-
seemed like a silly idea until you get to the point where you're listening to the people who are subjugated and
They're not,
asking.
like, separating them though.
My point is, if you say like the work of Bill Cosby, that avoids the entire side tangent of, but what do you mean you're inspired by Bill Cosby? And like,
Right.
Yeah.
And-
So if you just say the work of Bill Cosby, the conversation can continue.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at by now we ask for people's pronouns and when we meet them instead of assuming people's gender, and that's how we avoid getting into the whole he assumed, or did you just assume my gender? So,
Oh,
yeah.
speaking of GameStop,
No, man, like, I just think, yeah, we are developing a new normative here moving forward. We're looking to be more inclusive, and we talked about this in the comedy thing. I think, especially as far as, like, entertainment is concerned, we, coming out of the 90s and the 80s, we came out of insult comic humor. Like, we were fed a lot of Howard Stern, a lot of Adam Carolla, you know, that kind of shit.
which again is kind of it's a little bit pushed past satire at that point, but like the difference is you're making fun of everything, right? It's not, you're not being specific, because that's what issues I do specific, but if you're doing it like, you know.
Yeah, but
it's that way everything's included. That way it's still a big group of it.
no, I think that you can still do that, as we see with artists comedians like Dave Chappelle, right? You can still make fun of everything as long as you're not being hateful and hurtful about it. Like, the transgender community had issues with Dave's transgender jokes, but he didn't get quote unquote canceled because he came at it from the perspective of, you know, curiosity, like, teach me. Like, he even said that whole build up he did about dancing with the, you know, transgender person in the club and having the time of his life, and then he found out that the person was transgender and had to question his own sexuality, lends to
I feel like that's like his first thing that he says is like he questions his own sexuality. Like,
he lends
why
to
would
it.
anyone have an issue with saying that?
He's lending to, but that lends to an introspective nature. So it's not hurtful and hateful to somebody on the out, like, it's not putting out hateful intent,
because
right?
he's including
himself. So that's how we can approach these kinds of things moving forward. Gen Z is totally cool with self-deprecation, right? Like, they're all for you shitting on yourself, but don't shit on, like, marginalized people. Us bucking back against that because we've come from that mean-spirited kind of making fun of everything for the sake of making fun of everything. It's not, there's, at a certain point, there was nothing critical about the kind of comedy that we were like being fed.
That's fair.
We had our South Parks and our Family Guys that did take critical analysis of things to a point, but even South Park and Family Guy got to a point where they became so like factory focused that their jokes just were like hurtful and hateful and mean spirited.
Yeah, it's definitely easy to just push away. You need to like. There's other things too.
Yeah,
I remember there was that term that people were using in like the mid 2000s. It was like equal opportunity offender.
Yeah,
and there's another word for that. It's called being a dick.
Exactly. There's a point where we had, I think, Gen Z looked at that kind of stuff and they felt the same way. They were like, "Is it funny though?" Like, and I think I kind of got to the same. Like some things I still hold on to them being a little sensitive about, like, for all the Zoomers out there that are, like, cancel Pepe Le Pew and Eminem, it's like, alright guys, calm the fuck down.
You're missing it.
Yeah, like, you're missing the fucking point. But I think most of them aren't like that.
I think we should take a break!
And we back.
We back!
So Netflix is trying to make it harder for people to share profiles, accounts.
Well, I think we're good. You and I have been using the same one for what, like 3 years?
Yo, so, yeah, for everybody out there, still sharing accounts and shit.
Watch it.
For the 1 out of 5 people that pay for their account, you're the real MVP.
Y'all gonna have to start collaborating, right? Because what they getting ready to do is when people, like, sign in, or when you start your account or profile up to watch something, they're gonna send like emails and codes out to people so you can type in and verify whether this is your actual account, like up in there.
Oh, you have to do this 2-step verification.
Oh man, you have to talk to each other on Messenger to make sure it works?
Exactly. So it's not really like there's ways to
Let me get the password. Alright. Did you get the email yet? Yeah, here's the code. Sweet.
But it's one of the ways they claim they're getting ready to, beef up their security and everything.
I mean, Spotify, you can get the family plan, but they have some way that they're like, you all have to live at the same address.
It's probably just all routed off the IP address, right? Like, I don't know why they can't. I guess because that would be too much of an invasion of privacy to tie your account to your IP address. And I guess if you watch it on mobile, can they really tie it to, like, your mobile IP address? A lot of people, I don't know, my phone has a VPN on it, so...
Ted, let us know. How's that working out?
Yeah, and how do you tie something to an IP address if you use a VPN? Like,
No, I was telling Zach when you were, like, upstairs or something, I was like, when most people hear Ted, they think of, like, Ted from How I Met Your Mother. When I think of Ted, I totally think of a dude in a band.
When I think of Ted, I think of, Ted Bundy, but I mean... What's the difference between the FBI and Ted Bundy?
Tell us, Ted.
The FBI only get put on temporary leave when they murder.
That's what I'm saying. It's not much of a difference between the FBI and Ted Bundy. It was a joke, guys. Calm down. But yeah, I mean, this is Netflix's way
I guess
of...
there's a difference between local authorities and FBI. Yeah. The FBI's not.
This is Netflix's way of claiming they're, trying to beef up their security, and I'm all for these internet platforms beefing up their security, because as we move forward, cybercrime seems to be the new wave. Some home surveillance company, Verkada was just hacked. And it was like over fucking 150,000 of their cameras were hacked. Cameras that were inside schools, businesses. I think they even said they had cameras inside of like Tesla like factories and stuff like that they were able to hack into. And they said they had access to, it was a hacktivist group called AT69420 or APT69420. And they said they had access to them cameras for 2 whole fucking days, yo.
You sure it wasn't OPP 420?
And 2 whole fucking days before they exposed themselves. They exposed themselves. They didn't even, like, Verkada had no idea.
Just so you know, it was us.
Like, this shit is crazy, son. Like, within the last, we still don't know the effects of the FireEye hack, right? Like, there's no telling what they were, and that's like the government's top like cybersecurity agency and shit like that. So there's no telling what they were able to get access to with those FireEye hacks. And what it was a couple of years ago, those all the big credit like Experian and all them got hacked and shit like that. So it's just, I mean, everybody afraid of like your data getting stolen. Your data's already been stolen. Moving forward, all you can do is really protect the things that you're doing in the future. I mean, how many times has like Facebook and Twitter been hacked? I mean, Facebook gave all its data willingly to Cambridge Analytica, so that wasn't even a hack. Like,
yeah, read all that shit.
So you know what's crazy?
Your data is just.
You know what? We're really not fair here right now. We talk about Zoomers all the time, but we don't actually ever get a Zoomer's opinion.
Oh.
So we're gonna bring in a new correspondent for a new segment called the Zoomer Review.
People try to put us to down. Talking about my generation.
Hello, resident Zoomer expert Sung Yanatra.
Boom!
Here.
Yes!
Hey.
It picks up.
Here we go.
Alright.
Yeah.
So we have our first and most loyal Zoomer listener. We have Kellen here. So
What's up?
we're
What's
really
happening, Kellen?
we got Doc, Cool Zack, and me, Zig. So we talk about Zoomers and what they think all the time, but we never actually ask any Zoomers.
So real quick, where on the Zoomer scale are you? Are you like barely not a Zoomer, middle Zoomer? You don't sound like a baby
middle
Zoomer. Middle Zoomer. Okay,
you know.
cool, perfect.
You're like, what, 14 now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
So what matters to Zoomers? Like, what's going on with Zoomers?
Money, pussy, and weed.
Yes, because we clearly all follow the Kendrick Lamar lifestyle. No, basically, most people are kind of just, prioritizing making it through, just kind of, getting to a point in life where you can, just keep going. Mostly, like, a lot of people are still in school, high school, middle school, whatnot, so just kind of making it through there.
So what's the big issue that you've been following, Kellen?
Most of the stuff that I've been following has been, stuff relating to the gays and such.
Okay, so
As an LGBTQ youth myself,
Okay, so what big story have you been checking out recently? Get us hit.
Mostly I've been focusing a lot of times in one of the big things right now is that the UK is trying to make access to estrogen for trans people a lot more difficult. Also, there was a very big trans ban in Texas recently, and it's,
Of course, Texas. It's fucking Texas.
Fucking Texas, dude. Crazy place.
It's its own country for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas and Florida, their own little places.
And that ban on estrogen supplements for transitions is pretty interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Been a big thing, mostly because it's been leaning more conservative, and people, it's become harder and harder. Like, it's still it wasn't easy to begin with, but it's still kind of gradually getting harder for trans people to be able to effectively transition. Gay marriage is legalized, but it's like, stuff has gotten better, but, it hasn't really gotten to, normalization or anything like that.
Right.
I think that's for sure.
So I've had a question, and I don't want it to be offensive. I have no way of knowing if it's offensive. I've been curious.
When you prelude
I have been curious. Is it worse to have a front wedgie with the vagina or with the penis? I mean, it depends. Is it going by the wayside, or is it splitting the dead river?
What the fuck? What the fuck?
I don't know. I think the only time I remember it gets
Right, it's too early in the morning for this.
I don't know.
I feel like Batwing definitely sucks, but I can't speak
I need to know how to phrase it so I don't get canceled so I can put it on Ask Reddit.
Yo, honestly...
For God's sake.
It's like, there's only one type of person that can answer that question.
Oh, man.
Being a different Zoomer trans consultant, I'm not qualified to answer that question.
So, I know you said you're LGBTQ. How exactly do you... what are your pronouns?
I mostly go by they, them.
Okay.
So I do.
I will try to remember that.
I do like. I assume I've heard other younger Zoomers and stuff. My sister as well. Use LGBTQ as the identification instead of like you specifically what you are. Like I'm trans or I'm gay. It's doing the whole group together, which is kind of cool.
I wonder if there's a way that we can like find a way to pronounce it like we do with 5 Colors of Magic and we say Woobarg.
I think...
Really? What's this? That would actually make a lot of sense. I don't know. We just like the collective community hasn't really came up with anything. A lot of people just, collectively refer to themselves as the gays.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, isn't that like highly offensive?
Not when the gays do it.
Exactly! See, Doc got it. Doc has this.
Yes, it's because I'm black and I have to deal with the N-word discussion all the time, right?
It's how you're using it, It's not like gay. It's like, it's queer.
It's just, exactly. You're queer, non-gender normative. I mean, those are all ways I've heard it approached, and it just... Whatever way you can say it that doesn't sound like there's some kind of hatefulness behind it.
Right.
I will say that there are definitely homophobic gay people, but it's a lot more of a minority. Mostly the bigger problem is people just like, it's not really people hating
closeted.
gays, more just people hating themselves.
Yeah, closeted, right.
Yeah, it's that self shit. That
fucking,
what is her name?
Nurturing, more so though. That's just your upbringing. When you
Candace Owens. I immediately,
often,
when I think about that self-hatred shit, like, it makes me think about, like, fucking Candace Owens. And I'm just like, how do you stand up there and say the things out of your mouth?
The most, as Chappelle said, the most articulate idiot he's ever seen.
Yep. And then people want that woman to run for president.
Stop.
There is a lot of, I'd say, trans embarrassments. Like, we can start talking about people on YouTube. We can start talking about, like, Blair White, for example.
Okay, so I have 2 questions for you, Kellen.
Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yes.
2 questions. One, is there any, like, game, movie, music, or anything that's, like, huge right now with Zoomers? If there's not, you don't have to worry about it.
There kind of is. Like, the thing is, it's kind of difficult to pin down, like, the Zoomer music taste, because a lot of times, like, I don't know if it's just I am on the alternative and gay sides of people, like, mostly just talking to those types, but it's, like, there's a large diversity of music. It's not like, like, obviously a lot of people listen to music that they find on TikTok, but the thing about that is that you're finding music from a bunch of different places, like, most notably Zanzibar by Billy Joel was, like, really big for a while. And then, like, if I, like, look through my favorite sounds, there's, like, stuff by The Garden, stuff by Radiohead.
I'm so proud of him. He's a huge Wu-Tang fan.
I'm a big Wu-Tang fan. I do indeed have the Wu-Tang windbreaker. I think I put it in one of my tweets back July.
Nice.
Shout out to H&M, I suppose.
But,
yeah.
The other question I had for you, you've listened to every episode. Is there any misconceptions or dumb shit that Doc and I have said about Zoomers?
I can't really say that there's anything that I've heard y'all say about Zoomers specifically that's like, just like there's pretty much everything that's been said has some application. There's not just like any, stuff that's just objectively wrong.
We're millennials. We're self-hating as fuck.
I was gonna say, it's good to know we're not that out of touch, because sometimes I be on here and I feel washed when I talk about some of the shit that we be talking about. But it's good to know.
Y'all are less out of, like, y'all are less, like, out of it than I'd say, like, Gen X or Boomers or something.
I would hope more than Boomers.
But I feel like there is definitely some amount of millennial versus Gen Z shit. Like, Eminem, it's a great example because we are a current affairs podcast. the big deal with Zoomers trying to cancel Eminem, or supposedly trying to cancel Eminem. I feel like just a non-zero chance show might have already talked about that, just knowing Zig, just knowing his personality.
I feel like we were just talking about
Good
it
luck.
earlier. Yeah.
I mean, just like, good luck. That's what I'm gonna say. Like,
So, what is your stance on it?
how do you feel about this thing with Eminem? Because you didn't like grow up with Eminem the way we did.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say that, like, one of the biggest people that I listened to when I grew up was Eminem. I mean, I don't really care. You know, it's like, the thing about this so-called cancel culture is that the people who actually deserve it, you know, get what they deserve, and the people who don't just move on. It's not really a big thing.
Yeah, I've seen cancel Billie Eilish trending, and I'm like, what?
Thank you, but that's exactly what I was saying earlier. Zoomers don't really care, yo. They don't care about
most of us, like, we hate ourselves, we hate everything around us. We have bigger things to deal with, you know, than, like, oh god, Eminem called us all fags.
How many school shooting drills have you had to do? Have you actually had to do school shooting drills?
Okay, so us specifically, we've done like lockdown drills, we've done fire drills, but we haven't done like specific school shooting drills. Like the worst thing that's happened to our school in recent memory was like before I went there was an earthquake in 2011. Since you know the Maryland earthquake of 2011.
I remember that earthquake.
Yeah.
Oh god, I felt like somebody's grandfather just now.
Never gonna be worse than the blizzard of '96.
Yeah. Oh, Kellen, that's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad y'all don't have to run school shooter drills over Zoom, because that would feel dystopian as fuck.
Yes.
But,
Kellen, we appreciate you for being our Zoomer correspondent.
All of
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Sinatra.
At Sinatra, all one word.
That's one word with no O. I'm not sure why there would be an O, but it's like Young Sinatra, you flip the Y and the S and you take out the O.
I'll tweet the tag. How about that?
there you go.
Thank you, our Zoomer correspondent. That has been the Zoomer Review. Well, that was our Zoomer Review.
Tight. That was a nice
Now we've
little
gotten
surprise.
some we've gotten some confirmation that no, we're not entirely out of touch.
I mean, I said what I said earlier, and I just feel justified in what I said earlier.
Still feel good about it.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Dolce & Gabbana is suing, speaking of, you know, Zoomers and IG and influencers and all that new age nonsense, since I'm playing the role of somebody's grandfather today. Dolce & Gabbana is suing 2 IG influencers, the runners of a fashion blog known as Diet Prada, for $600 million American. They're running the lawsuit through the Italian court system. Let me get it. And I just thought this was interesting, right? Because essentially what it seems like is happening here is Dolce & Gabbana got into some hot water with its Asian market back in 2018 when they released an advertisement for an upcoming runway show they had in Shanghai. The ad featured a Chinese woman in an Italian restaurant, I believe, trying to eat. I don't know if it was in an Italian restaurant or not. All I know is that the woman was attempting to eat Italian food with chopsticks, right? Like, she was trying to eat spaghetti with chopsticks, and then she was trying to eat pizza with chopsticks.
What?
Yeah. So, and this is adult. So, rightfully so, you know, the Asian market gets, and I will refer to, I'm referring to the Asian people as the Asian market here because effectively we're talking about Priceline, right? So like the people boycott because this shit is as bad as like, oh my god, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, it's that fucking bad, right? Like a Chinese woman trying to eat a slice of pizza with chopsticks. Come on, like that's very like 1980s, like fucking guess who's coming to dinner kind of shit.
Interview with a Vampire.
After that happened,
Hi everybody, I'm a vampire. I'm 228 years old. I host a podcast, co-host a podcast. It's called The Flood with Doc and Ziggy.
after that happened, Stefano Gabbana's direct messages, like his private messages, got leaked, and apparently there's some racist comments in there that I could not find, but the comments were reblogged on the Diet Prada page, which is a political fashion blog. Takes time to advocate for, minorities in the fashion industry and call out racial discrimination and LGBTQ discrimination and, misogyny and stuff like that. So they reblogged and went on what I guess the lawsuit claims is an effective campaign to defame Stefano Gabbana. And they are effectively they are now turning around and putting the entire blame on Diet Prada and are suing them for 450 million euros, 3 million for the company's losses and damages since 2018 when the whole initial incident happened with their ad and the boycott backlash, and 1 million for Stefano Gabbana, who was personally attributed for the remarks, so the leaked messages of his that were posted on the page, Diet Prada. 8.6 million for the canceled Shanghai show, another 8.6 million for staff and expenditures, 89.6 million for a total, like what they assume they lost in value from the Asian market because of the whole outfall for this.
They're never buying from us again.
Yeah. So up to this point, it seems like Diet Prada, who has 2.5 million followers on AG and is run by Tony Liu and Lindsay Schuyler, have raised $38,000 in their defense for this whole thing so far. But they've also released statements saying that they will not be silenced. Their platform will not be silenced by this lawsuit. Like, they feel like this is just a way of, the big fashion industry trying to silence people calling them out on their bullshit. Right. In the past, Domenico Dolce has gotten into it with Elton John over his comments suggesting that he was in opposition to gay couples using surrogate mothers to have children and shit like that. So it seems like Dolce & Gabbana has a history of being out of touch. Yeah. Today's episode, a check-in. Are you out of touch?
A little bit there, jeez.
Like, yeah, I don't know, and I just feel like, Stefano also got into some heat when he responded to a collage of Selena Gomez photos saying, "She's really ugly."
Wow!
He said that publicly.
Oh, holy fuck.
He said that publicly. Son. And
that's insane.
It's these.
It's also objectively wrong.
just really ugly.
Like really ugly? No way.
She's like I
can get somebody to be like, she's alright, but really ugly? No.
Well, even if you do just find her revolting, you just the platform you had to be like, yeah, she's really ugly. That's
Trumpers storm out of the bar work, but he's just keeping it real.
Honestly, that's what people would say, right? In defense, and it's
like we can predict the narrative over here at the Flood.
I find this whole lawsuit absurd, right? Because as we
look, Ted, I was kidding.
Now this is all happening in the Italian court, right? And their defense lawyer is arguing that the Italian court doesn't have merit to adjudicate this case because it happened as a result of something that went down in the Chinese market, and the company and the bloggers are from the United States. So that's one reason why the court case may not even happen in the first place. But
that sounds like the defense is flailing around like a fucking magic card.
Well, when you're doing it for that much money, you have to make sure it's
have to make sure you're solid.
Yeah.
And defamation cases, from what I was reading, defamation cases in Italy are very fine-tooth comb kind of things. So, I just think it's wild that a $1 million like company, like this big industry, right? Like Dolce and Gabbana is like, I mean, their sales have been tanking recently, especially with like COVID and all of that.
Yeah, people.
But
what are you buying all your outfits for?
Yeah, I find it wild that a big company feels like it can hit a small, and 2.5 million followers isn't small by any means, but like
comparatively,
exactly. Comparatively, the fact that they're trying to hit them for 600 mil, like US, is like wild. Like, meanwhile, over here we're steadily rolling back consumer protections, where like it might even be difficult for us to do class action lawsuits moving forward here. So. How do we, once again, how does the working class take on the fucking upper class oligarchies?
By storming the Bastille and eating the rich.
This is it. I mean, because like clearly you can just get shoved down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not proven all the time. But
well, it's like with the Google article that I sent you, right? About the Google workers who are being forced, like pushed out of the company through medical leave, claiming that people are being, when they report instances of abuse and discrimination, they're being asked to take mental health like leave. And then when they come back, they're reassigned to different departments where so they're not in like direct like contact with the person that was antagonizing them.
Yeah, right. Like when you sent me this and I started to read it, I was just like, wow, they're just sending this through the machine. It's like another brick in the wall by Pink Floyd, just like falling into the sausage maker.
So recently, Google had a lead researcher on Google's ethical AI team resigned from her position after disputes with Google about what she felt like was racial discrimination. And this woman is no joke. Her name is Timnit Gerbu, I believe. If I'm probably butchering that name a bit. She's known in her field. She's a high-profile woman known in her field for uncovering biases in facial recognition systems, right? And she had been working with Google on their ethical AI team. And when she brought what she felt like were cases of racial discrimination to them, they told her to take mental health breaks.
And then there was April Curley, who was a diversity recruiter there.
Get yourself
and she said in her 6 years, she never received a raise or promotion, which they need a manager's input on. And she was assigned 9 different managers during her tenure. So 2 of whom she had to report back to human resources. And she was never able to get the raise because the managers never got the rapport long enough to send in the nomination for a promotion or a raise.
Yeah. And in official statements, Google said that, Gerbu officially resigned but refused to elaborate on that, and that Curley was terminated, and they being Google, disagree with her characterization of her departure. They have also said in a statement that they are committed to supporting employees who raise concerns about workplace treatment, and a spokesperson also said that all concerns are investigated rigorously, and we take firm action against employees who violate our policies.
So basically, there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
It's a long, long way to Ba Sing Se.
It seems like the employees who violate the policies are told to take mental health issues.
Yeah, you need to get yourself checked out.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah. Things like, comments about skin color. One of the initial, person spoken to in the article, because, a lot of people didn't feel comfortable even coming forward. They wanted to remain anonymous when they because they felt like Google would retaliate.
One of them was a current employee.
Yeah. But Benjamin Cruz was somebody who came forward, and they reported that their initial incident was with a coworker who made a comment about Ben's skin complexion being much darker, Ben, who is a Mexican American, being much darker than their coworker had anticipated. And when Ben took that to the HR department told Ben to assume good intent. And after repeated attempts to have the incident further investigated, Cruz was urged to take medical leave.
Or to seek mental help, right?
Yeah, take medical leave and tend to their mental health before moving to a new role in the company. Cruz took the medical leave thinking that upon return they could apply for a new position, but then they were denied every role they applied for after that.
Holy fuck.
Google declined to comment on Cruz's allegations. So, it just...
That's really shitty.
Yeah. all of this to really flesh out... God, this is going to be getting to the meat of today's discussion. Finally, what I want to talk about. This CNN article I found that says that over the past 3 decades, younger and middle-aged Americans have been dying at higher rates. Causes of death with striking rates increases were...
suicide, alcohol abuse, and drug addiction.
Yep. According to the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medical reports. Cardiometabolic conditions on there as well, heart disease, diabetes.
And all of that stems from
stress.
From stress and lifestyle choices. And also, the black community is actually affected more by all of this. That the study directly related to systemic racism.
Yeah. We're not even talking about, the rate of violent crimes has gone down over the past decade. But I fear that with COVID, we will see a spike in violent crimes as things start to open back up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, because all the white kids will have their plan ready to go.
Not just that. People are hurting. People can't pay for rent right now. We still have these rent strikes going on. We're just now getting the 1400 passed. Like, I feel like at this point we're, people are scraping tooth and nail, man.
I'm getting Aria fixed up when I get my stimulus check.
The life expectancy took a 3-year slide from 2014 to 2017, and it was the largest sustained life expectancy drop since the 1918 flu epidemic.
Why do we keep hearing about that flu epidemic?
but that was before COVID, right? That was 2014 to 2017, so I can only imagine the steep decline that it has taken now. Dude, and it's all overwhelmingly, all the evidence suggests it is all overwhelmingly tied to economic circumstances.
Undeniable.
It's undeniable at this point. When you look at the things from Zig was speaking on the way it affects the black community earlier, and you can see it across. I mean, the suicide rate is increasing because of white men. White men are killing themselves at an astonishing rate in this country.
We do have it really hard.
And when you...
Jesus
Christ. And when you take in... I argue that you could even say that the OD rate can be accumulated to the suicide rate. Like, I think those two are like hand in hand. Like, there are probably a lot of people who, even accidental overdoses, right, may have been self-medicating to an extreme level. Like, it's crazy how test after test, study after study, expert after expert has said that in order to improve these things, you need to improve people's working and living conditions. Make life easier for people. People aren't they're arguing for all these abortion right changes because the birth rate in the country is going down. or they claim that it's going down. But in the places that they claim it's going down, the rate of teenage pregnancies is going up, right? And younger people are killing themselves at an earlier age because it's hard to fucking make a living out here.
Yeah. Especially if...
Dr. Stephen Wolf, who is actually a professor at VCU, he said the period in which this mortality rate occurred was a period in which many parts of the country and many communities suffered significantly in terms of their economic circumstances.
Yeah, it's overwhelmingly tied to economic circumstances. It's not like... And it's like Kellen was saying earlier, man, like these kids like hate their existence. Like if you look at like the things that Gen Z jokes about, it's like life and dying and like killing themselves because why do I have to exist? Two people fucked back in 1990 and now I have to exist.
In 1990 they would be one of us.
Yo. No, because we were born in the 90s. Like
Zoomers aren't born in the fucking 90s.
97, right? It's like 97.
Kellen's 14. He was born in...
It's 97 to 2015, 2012?
2007?
97.
No, Kellen was born in 2007.
Yeah, so 97 to 2012.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, man, like, it's... And when you take the polls, right? Like, when we... Bringing it back to the politics, like, when you look at the polls and the studies, the people overwhelmingly want health care. They want affordable housing.
Imagine that being like an overwhelming desire.
Seriously.
Just basic fucking health care.
The basic...
Please.
The right to freedom, liberty, and
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Oh my goodness. Those sound like ideals for a country, don't they? Except for, they meant for the rich, right? Like, you have to be wealthy enough.
You're not a plantation owner? He's stupid.
Come on.
I mean...
You thought.
They got it 3/5 right.
You know who we mean.
Come on. Come on, bro. They, like, it's...
I got canceled for my Republican views. Really? About, like, reducing taxes and small government? No. Well, which ones? Oh, you know.
Man, it's crazy because the answer is so obvious. People are popping pills out of their mind right now because they can't afford, like, or they can't fathom how they're going to pay rent. Right? And, like, it's easy.
A lot of them resort to selling said pills.
It's exactly. And it's easy to look down from the ivory tower and go, oh, well, why don't they just tough it out? As you sip on your fucking 18th century. 18th century.
Some doctors aren't helping because they profit off of prescribing the shit.
Yeah, the monster feeds itself, man, and it's
like the Rust Belt in West Virginia. Like it's bad.
Yeah, it's just as bad as the fucking inner cities of Baltimore and Detroit, and they've steadily convinced people that somehow it's different. It's a different kind of bad for a different kind of reason. And you can blame a different person for it, except for, at the end of the day, we're all kind of just friends, and we have dinner after we get done arguing with each other for these cameras. Get the fuck out of here.
Wait. There's no way.
Get the fuck out of here, man. And it's crazy to read articles like this, and the article isn't really... It blew me because the article put all these numbers forward, but then didn't try and tie them back to anything other than really saying economic circumstances. We're not going to say what those economic circumstances is. We're not going to talk about the fact that Jeff Bezos and fucking Elon Musk overwhelmingly ran to become like the two richest people on the fucking planet in the middle of a fucking pandemic.
Elon Musk is taking off. Bezos is
To
like
the
been there
moon.
to the moon. Seriously though, like he's like quadrupled like this last
That's
year.
what, in the middle of a
holy
fucking pandemic,
fuck.
and the idea that we would tax the rich to help offset some
Elon
of this
does
shit
shit with his money though.
to an extent, only to offset his fucking
It's
taxes.
not helping the majority of people.
No.
Not just that either. Though. He tries to kind of progress.
I mean,
things.
yeah,
Like,
he's doing things like
It's
to
not.
push.
He's not literally just being a dragon like Bezos.
That's fair. I mean, he's a bit of
Elon
a
also just
wiser
does a lot
guy.
of stuff because he thinks it's cool.
You know, he's like Lex Luthor. He'll join the Justice League when it comes to saving the planet. You know? It's like, okay, if the planet is at stake, then I guess until I build my Mars colony.
But since he was doing all that weird shit before, it works.
Yeah, I'm like, look, alright, whatever, you're chaotic neutral.
Yeah.
I'll take that over fucking Bezos, who's literally just
dragon.
trying to, run with Google for, I guarantee, how long do you think it takes before Amazon buys Google?
Holy fuck! It's literally over then. Because Google could it's over then.
One of the two is going to happen.
And then there's going to be Facebook and Disney.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
the Disney. Well, Disney.
Yeah.
Disney's the next level up.
Yeah, Disney and Facebook and fucking.
Because Disney's already.
Oh my god,
One
Amazon
fish
and Google.
eats the other fish.
Are they gonna buy Nestle next?
And then a bigger fish comes along.
Well, fucking Amazon already has Whole Foods, right? So it would only make sense for Disney to buy fucking HelloFresh or something like that. Come on, man. And I don't even feel predictive at this point because it's like you said, the writing's on the wall. All you have to do is really follow it. If you step back far enough, you can see how this map plays out.
You can see how the horizon on this flood.
The horizon on the sides, we're rising high.
Sitting in the morning sun.
I hate reading articles like this, but I wanted to talk about it today because, like I said, the answer is so obvious. It's so obvious, but they write these articles like, what are we ever gonna do?
And this hasn't happened since the 1918 pandemic. That's just another reminder
That none of this.
is normal.
You guys be safe out there. Love yourselves.
Deuces.
Take care of yourselves.
Look, it's a flood.
The flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
Wait, why can't we talk about Black Sabbath?